Trumpets welcome the king into his victory banquet. Everyone sat eager to see his face revealed, except for two. I don't know how to solve these anyway. Hello, fellow INTPs from the past. I am from the future. I am here to talk about INTP cycling and tangents. They all actually come together. So it was that little bit that I actually shared with you first. Actually, it is a book that I am trying to write. But why am I trying to share about my story? Well, let me have you stick around, little boy. Slack. So you know, why I did that. Anyways, now to the real stuff. Cycling for an INTP happens all the time. We are, oh, you can see my armies, there we go. Personal connection. We are susceptible to cycling and tangents and flimsical beards. Why does the INTP cycle in their talking? Other people that are not INTPs have probably noticed that INTPs like to just cycle and say the same things over and over again, but they're not. Let me explain what is going on. I like to change accents, but it's okay, just go with it. And so, INTPs, you probably noticed yourselves doing this. How do you keep yourself from cycling? Well, let me explain what's happening. So, INTPs have point A, and they want to go to point B. However, they kind of know point A, but they don't have a clue what point B is. And so we fumble about. In our conversation, it's really bad when we're in conversation with somebody, and this is what we need to figure out, how to stop doing this in conversation, and also like these things here, but it's very good for other practical purposes, and I will get to that later. So, but in conversation, we'll be talking, and we don't really know what we're trying to say. We don't even know where we're going. But point B is over here. And so we'll fumble about until eventually we hit something that feels like point B. Okay. So the other person feels like, well, we got there. And so then from point B, we start to go to point C. We have no idea where point C is, so we're going and going and going, and then we're like, uh-oh. We got about 20% into point C, and we found out that this one thing would have been really good back here between point A and B, somewhere. Or we realized at the same time, we didn't really explain this other thing as truthfully as we should have, and so we take this new thing between point B and C, and cycle back to between point A and B somewhere, and start to reincorporate what we were trying to say, which would have been a better way to say it to, so that we can better articulate the importance of B. Because of the new things we've discovered between B and C, and the flaws that we've discovered that we didn't know how to articulate for the first time between A and B. And so we cycle back. And then we find out some new things that we could have, use that information, or other things we realize, and so we try to re-articulate so we can actually have the best A through B as possible. Well, we can easily go through this, and then we try to go from, B to C, and then C to D, but the problem also is that between B and C, we realize, you know what, drawing seems like a better hobby. I want to learn drawing. And so now, since we don't really know where we're going anyway, we take a tangent. And now we're talking or communicating, doing something about something that doesn't even matter anymore to the present conversation. So the poor person that we're talking to is completely lost. Why are we now talking about bunny rabbits when we were talking about the parabolas? Or the something theorem, something, something important or whatever. We can, because INTPs, we have no idea what we're doing. We're like intelligently stupid. And we'll just trail off, but then there's also more A to Bs and these other tangents. And so we'll find ourselves cycling in a place that has no meaning to the present, linear structure that most people are trying to get at. So that is what the cycling is. And if you're a non-INTP, you've probably experienced this and have been wondering, why in the world is the person talking like this? Or they seem so stupid, but they're not stupid. In INTPs, you are not stupid. Other people like to go from point A to point B, or whatever. Not maybe, actually here. There's a pillar. Pretend this is not point A and B anymore. It's just a pillar. People are capable of doing this. Going from here to there. And even that was a cycle myself right there. I cycled back so I can communicate a here to there in a better way. So, people are normally this far. INTPs. You are either here or here. There's no in between. So, you will either, when you're trying to go through a linear function, you'll either get this far in most linear functions, but end up finding out all these other things that you can experience and express. I'm going on and on, you can't even see it. Or, you'll find those one or two things that you can absolutely put all of your energy in, and you will supersede everyone. No one will even come close to you, because everyone else, their maximum is here. But you can either triple them, or barely even make half of them, if that makes sense. So, INTPs, how do we get ourselves to just stick to the point and be able to, one, just communicate? Like, rather than having to be more focused on the exact nature of our function or communication or whatever we're talking about. So, remember when I brought up my story? Actually, the reason how I am able to now find the right tools to communicate in a more linear fashion is actually because of storytelling. I've been in the film school for the past 3.5 years. I've been writing like a gazillion scripts. I'm hopefully having one sold by next year, and if it doesn't, then I'll try to make it into a movie. I'll need all your help for that, though. Or I'll need all your help for that. Kind of came out in a slur. Excuse me, I have a beard on. I'm not used to this. But in film, or storytelling, I should just say, you can even say joke telling, but you have one point that you're trying to get at. There might be a whole bunch of other elements involved, but in the end, there's only one thing that matters. Whatever that climax, or that resolution, the punchline, that is what matters. That is the key. Nothing else matters. Now, you can have all these other complexities trying to establish to that one thing, but you have to understand that one thing absolutely before you can actually start to feather out, because it's so easy to start to feather out, and there's no direction to those featherings, and they have no meaning to the original task. So Lord of the Rings, for instance, it is so complex with all these things going on, but in the end it is also infinitely simple because it's all focused on one thing, the destruction of the ring. That is it. That's all that matters. And so Tolkien can now go through all of, he's not an INTP, he's an INFP, but, you know, those people have a little bit of a, they cheat, they don't have a cheat, but it's all internal. Us INTPs, it's all, we have to either cognitively be able to bring it out, or we have no idea what we're doing. Or we naturally do it, but we still don't know how it got there. Anyway, intuition's a great thing. And a terrible thing. So, with all of the different parts and pieces of Lord of the Rings, they can actually be fanned out, and he can explore in these different places because they all are servicing the one thought. So with INTPs, how to keep yourself from cycling is to learn how to get to the end first and work yourself up to it. But this is not an easy task. Most INTPs probably suck at doing stand-up comedy. They can act stupid. You're looking at one right now. However, INTPs don't really know very well very often. I'm sure there are INTPs out there that could. I'm just saying generally, it is very difficult to find the point that they need to get to. The objective, there we go. The objective that we're needing to hit, and we need to work our way up there relentlessly to it, not matter about anything else, but the ring must be destroyed, Frodo Baggins. And those of you who are in countries that means something mean, I'm sorry, but I'm in America. Because Americans are stupid. Anyways, just kidding, they're not stupid. See, I'm tangenting. It doesn't even matter. What's the point of this video is how to keep yourself from tangenting and cycling. So this circle thing doesn't matter. Anyways, so what are some practical things that you can do to keep yourself from doing this? First, be okay with your first explanation. That is the most difficult thing an INTP can probably do, is to just be okay with it. You sucked it the first time trying to explain it. Too bad. The other people don't care about a reiteration. They got the point. So now what you need to do then from there is to be able to articulate certain points that just get the point across. You don't need to go into the professional realm like you're so well being able to be going into those professional places to express them in such depth and meaning and all that stuff. The other people most of the time don't care. They just need to know if it works, if it's functional, and they just need to get you to point A to point B and skip along as you can. So, the easiest way to do it is to just be okay with the first explanation. Second, you will start to find certain ways of speaking to articulate where you're trying to go. Always be trying to figure out where the end goal is. And so you will be able to put together bits and pieces to create assumption, and that will allow them to, you probably can't even see my mouth, to make the connections that you're wanting to make in a deeper way. Let me explain. This goes with film and movies again. A drunken man hobbles out of his house. That's the first scene. Second scene. A little girl skips along the sidewalk and gets on her bicycle. The drunken man stumbles into his car and starts it. The little girl rides off on her bike and kind of is careless about where she's going. The drunken man goes onto the road with his car and he swerves and he goes really fast down the road. The little girl decides to turn into the road. Now what did I just do? I just made you assume that I'm talking about two people that are somehow in the same place. But you made the assumption. I didn't. I could have been talking about one person that's in Canada and another person's in another time, even. Like, they could be completely two different people. However, because of the power of suggestion, if you know your goal, you can start to put together things that are not, they don't have to be so exacting anymore. You can use bits and pieces that get the idea across so that the other person can put in the pieces of what it means or what it does. And actually what you end up doing is creating more meaning into what you're trying to say, rather than trying to express every bit of finite reality to the other person and boring them to death with useless information that they don't need. What they simply need is the very end. That's all that matters. So if you can effectively know how to get to the end through these power of assumptions, that's kind of like the ultimate key. And if you need to put in some information in there, then great, do it. So that's how I would suggest for INTPs. Now, if another INTP was with another INTP or other people that just know that cycling nature, do it, because it is fun to go on those cycling natures and to reiterate and to better those thoughts that were so raw at first and didn't come together at the first pass, and so you need to go over it again to clarify it, to make it deeper and far more rich. Unfortunately, like 80% of the world doesn't care. So I'm sorry, you are one of those people, INTP, and maybe there's others that do that too. It is not the best thing in the world. But, as an older INTP, let me tell you, it gets better. You'll start to learn how to be one of those weird humanlings. You kind of have to, or you'll end up going crazy. And it's not good being in a closet in bars all day. But at the same time, you'll want to have some people that understand you. That is why we're on the internet. Because we somehow feel so understood. Maybe we'll meet all each other one day. In fact, we'll do a big gathering. Be like, everybody who's an INTP, INFP, all the I's, let's meet in Chicago. Maybe not Chicago. Or, no, definitely not Chicago. But anyways, I hope that this video was helpful, and I am going to go back to the future. It's actually that way. Which way is the future? Hello? Hello? Oh, drat.